So I'm excited to be here tonight to talk to you all about something that I'm very passionate about. I've been doing STEM now for a few years in my classroom, and as well as organizing school-wide events. I thought I had a really good grasp on what STEM is until most recently when I was able to attend the Virginia Children's Engineering Convention. And I was just blown away by how much I thought I knew and how much I still needed to learn. Now, most of you have heard the term STEM before. It's kind of this new buzzword that's surrounding the field of education. We know that it stands for science, technology, engineering, and math. And we know that it kind of deals with some sort of engineering, designing activity. We see these STEM challenges everywhere, but are they true STEM challenges? So here's kind of how to tell. One thing that we want to remember is that our STEM activities should include some kind of technology and engineering. Now, that doesn't mean that it has to include robotics or electronics. What is that new thing that you're trying to create, or what is that old thing that you're trying to improve upon? We don't also want our steps to be predetermined. I think about my son likes Legos. So you go to the toy store and you walk down the aisle and you see all those Lego boxes. They have the pictures on the outside of them, and when you take them home, you open them up, you get the Legos, and then you get this little booklet that comes with it. And inside the booklet, it has step-by-step instructions on how to put your Legos together so they look exactly like the box, which is great, it's fun, but we don't want our STEM projects to be like that. We want to give them the materials and see what they come up with. Our STEM project should also follow the engineering design process. And with that process, it starts by asking a question. What is a problem that you have, and how are you going to solve it? So then the students move into the imagining. They're brainstorming all their ideas. They're coming up with their possible solutions on how they could solve this problem. Then they move into planning. And with planning, they're sitting down, they're deciding, okay, we're going to pick this problem or this activity, and we're going to do this. And we're going to need these materials to build it, so they're getting all their stuff together. Then they move into their favorite, which is where they actually start building and creating. In this step, they're going to have to move into that last one, the improve, because they're going to start finding out things don't quite work out the way that they had planned. Something might need to be fixed, something might need to be changed. They're going to constantly improve their designs. In the end, we want them to go back to the original question and say, did I answer that? Was I able to answer my problem? If you're missing any of these steps, then your project isn't truly STEM. So I'm going to give you an example, and I want to see if you guys can help me. So we just finished our matter unit, and we're going to make soap. So I let my students, we're all going to make soap. Do we think that would be STEM, or do we think not? What do you guys think? Yes, no? Yeah, this would not be STEM. This would be a great science lesson, but I'm giving them step-by-step instructions on how to make that soap. And now, I'm going to ask them, tie in some economics. You've made your soap. Now I want you to take your soap across a river to sell it. How are you going to get your soap across that river? So now the students have to work through that engineering design process to solve that problem of how to get their soap across the river. So this then would be a true STEM activity. So I've explained to you kind of what STEM is, but why should we do it? One reason is that it starts building our kids' communication skills. They're having to talk to one another. They're having to talk about their ideas, express their ideas. And I always have my students present to the class or to their peers so that they can see what others are doing, but then they can also explain, I did this, I went through these steps, this is how I solved the problem. They're also learning how to collaborate with one another. They're having to work together. They're having to decide upon whose idea we're going to work with. They're going to have to realize that they are working together to solve the problem, and it's really great. And I even get some of my older kids, like 5th graders, will work with 2nd graders, and they're learning to collaborate with each other, so it's really great. Another one is their creativity. These guys come up with the craziest ideas. Like my friend Chase here, they were tasked with having to take home their Valentines. How are you going to take your Valentines home for Valentine's Day? So all of them wanted to, I'm going to make this box, this rectangular box. So they're doing the boxes, and Chase comes up with this triangular box, which was kind of interesting. And when I was talking to him about it, he said, well, I was trying to make a rectangular box, but it really just wasn't working. The sides kept falling in, so I figured, hey, let's make it a triangular box. So he was being creative, but he was also learning how to problem solve. He's learning that perseverance too, to keep working through the problems that he had. Yeah, they're gonna fail, and that's okay. They're gonna realize that it didn't work. They're gonna keep trying. My favorite thing that I hear when students are doing STEM is I hear them shout out, well, I just learned that that doesn't work, and then they just keep moving on. It's just a great way to see them keep working hard at something. Now, most teachers, when I talk to them about doing STEM, their biggest hesitation is classroom management. But how are my kids gonna act when I give them all this stuff? Now, I have to say, these kids are engaged when we're doing STEM lessons. I would say that is one of the biggest things that I see. Yes, it's loud. Yes, it's messy. But they are all working. They're really into it. They're invested in their learning. And isn't that what we want? We want our students to be invested in their learning. And what better way than through STEM? One of the other reasons that I like STEM is that I'm seeing a lot of my students take these skills and they're applying them to other areas. Like in math, they're learning how to problem solve and keep trying a different way. If it didn't work, they're not giving up. We do vocabulary, and one way I do vocabulary is I ask the students to make some personal connections. So we had the word gumption last week, and in that, I told them, tell me about a time that you showed gumption. And I was blown away. I'm reading their journals, and I saw 4 or 5 kids write about a time they showed gumption was during a STEM activity. As educators, I know that we are really trying to do what we feel is best for our students and giving them the best things. Now, as a mom, I feel like I should be doing those things with my own child at home. So I try to bring those things home with my son. About a year ago, I walked into my son's playroom. He has one of those like wooden train tables, and in there I noticed this. I see these Legos underneath the train track. And immediately I'm like, oh my God, my husband, he's a genius. He fixed the train track so I don't have to go in there and keep putting it back up. So I go over to him and I'm like, hey babe, you fixed the train track. He's like, huh? Like, you put the Legos under the train track to hold it up. I don't know what you're talking about. You didn't do that? No. I'm like, well, I didn't do it. You didn't do it. The dog didn't do it. So I go over to my son. I'm like, hey, bud, what are those Legos there for? And he goes, oh, I used them to fix my train track so it doesn't fall down anymore. And he's 4. So I'm like, if our students can take these skills and apply them to their own lives and their own problems, I mean, it's limitless in what they can do. Now, I hope that I've given you a little bit of a better understanding about STEM and that maybe you're inspired to do STEM in your own classrooms, but if I haven't done that, I hope these guys can convince you.
Is to express their creative ability and have their minds moving. All we can say because everyone's in the room and you are smart every day.
All kids should use STEM as a fun way to build.
Building skills. Can be fun and because you can create